With Citizen Soldier's brand new album, Icarus, finally out, I decided it was finally time that we ranked their whole discography.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's up, guys? SVG here. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. If you are new to my channel and have not seen my videos before, we react to a lot of Citizen Soldier on this channel. My first time reacting to Citizen Soldier was over 3 years ago, and since then we have literally reacted to every song they have ever released. Most recently, we reacted to their brand new album, Icarus. That was a fun time. Really enjoyed that album. And I've never done a discography ranking on these guys because they drop their albums so soon. They drop an album like every year. But since Icarus just freshly dropped, I figured we'd go ahead and hop on this. Yeah, man, if you guys don't know how this video works, basically we're going to go through Citizen Soldier's discography from their very first album to their most recent album. We're going to talk about each album individually, and then we're going to place them in tiers. The tiers on this tier list rank from perfect, great, good, bad, and horrible. So without further ado, guys, let's rank all of Citizen Soldier's albums, starting with the Caroline EP. Let it burn. So no, full disclosure, this is not an album. This was their very first EP. It's a 5-track EP. I've actually never listened to this whole EP in full. I've reacted to all of the songs on it individually, but I've never listened to the whole EP. Normally when I do these album tier list videos, I don't include EPs, but I figured we'd do it. I figured we'd include this one. So taking a look at the Caroline EP, we got track 1, Buried Alive, track 2, Caroline, track 3, Soldier, track 4, 15 Minutes of Fame, and 5, Let It Burn. I think all of these songs are good. I think that was a good start for their career. I think Caroline is obviously something that obviously, I wasn't around when this song came out or this EP, but I would imagine if Citizen Soldier just started, right, and they're like a new up-and-coming band, and you're hearing, and they put out Caroline, and you hear that for the first time, that's really, like, that's kind of what you're in store for with Citizen Soldier, you know? Also, Let It Burn is definitely top 5 of their best songs of all time. I think that is, like, their most magical song, honestly, like, especially with the story behind it, that Jake wrote that song like on a napkin in a hospital bed, like in a psychiatric hospital, and they took the impact from that emotional story behind it and did it justice by making the song incredibly. So yeah, Buried Alive's good, Caroline is great, Soldier's also really good, 15 Minutes of Fame is good but a little forgettable, and Let It Burn's amazing. So I'm not someone who really listens to EPs often, so I don't know why I really included it. I just thought I would. We're gonna take the Caroline EP and put it at good. Moving on to their actual very first album, Relentless. Is breaking, body shaking. Sometimes it's so hard to breathe. We recently actually did a full album reaction to Relentless. We've been going back in Citizen Soldier's discography and listening to their albums in full on my Twitch streams because the way Citizen Soldier releases their music, they release every song on the albums as singles. So I've never done album reactions to them because by the time the album's out, I've already heard the whole album, so I don't react to the album when it's out. But we've been going back in time, reacting to their older albums. So far, we've re-reacted to Relentless, Down the Rabbit Hole. We have to do This Is Your Sign Part 1 next. So this album is pretty fresh on my mind since we recently re-reacted to it. But we're going to go through the track list again. In track 1, we got If These Scars Could Speak, Never Good Enough, Devil Inside, Better Place, Kill My Memory, Weight of the World, Death of Me, Say Goodbye, Cannibal, In Pieces, and Unbreakable. I think this album is really good. I really enjoyed re-listening to it. It felt like an album, you know, 11 songs is a good length. The album was very cohesive, kept a hard rock sound. I think there's some really good standout tracks on this album, and I think it has a good vibe to it. We're gonna put Relentless in good in front of the Caroline EP. I think it's good. It's just a solid album, you know. It's not great. It's just like, it's good. Next up, we got their second album, Down the Rabbit Hole. This is where Citizen Soldier really took off in popularity. This was like a year before I found the band, and they were releasing some of these songs when I found them, or they had released the songs when I first started reacting to them. So a lot of my very first Citizen Soldier videos are reacting to the songs on this album. We got My Little Secret, which was one of my very first CS videos, Mess of Me, Gunshot Lullabies, Hope It Haunts You, one of my favorite CS songs, I'm Not Okay, Make Hate to Me, Forever Damned, Would Anyone Care, their biggest song, Sacred, and The Cage. One of my biggest critiques of this album was really just the flow of it. I feel like they could have set up the track list a little bit differently. Like, The Cage didn't really feel like a great album closer. I think they could have just mixed up the songs on the track list. The songs themselves are good, and it's a good album. I just think they could have moved some of the songs on here to make the album flow nicer. It has that standard Citizen Soldier sound. You know, when I've been reacting to their latest songs and stuff, sometimes I talk about, like, how there's that standard Citizen Soldier hard rock sound that I love when they go back to those roots. And this album is really the heart of that sound. This is like, when you think of Citizen Soldier, this is the album you think of. The sound of this album is what you think of. It's got the hard rock 3 Days Grace, Chris Daughtry vibes with the emotional, relatable lyrics and awesome song structures and great vocals. This is a really good album. It also has very cool artwork. So we're going to put Down the Rabbit Hole in great. Next up, we got This Is Your Sign Part 1, which used to be my favorite Citizen Soldier album. It might be by the end of this video, but I have a feeling my opinion on my favorite CS album is going to change by the end of this video. So yeah, looking at the track list, we got Isolate, Empty Cup, Never Ending Nightmare featuring Kellen Quinn, which is sick, Just Be Happy, Invisible, Pandora's Box, Always December, which is my favorite Citizen Soldier song, Stronger Than My Storm, Hand Me Down, Hallelujah, I'm Not Dead, which was my very first Citizen Soldier video, If I Surrender, and Face to Face. So yeah, this album holds a lot of nostalgia for me, because like, when I first started reacting to CS, this album was coming out, so I was like, really hyped on the band back then. I think this album is extremely cohesive, has a very nice flow, has some huge bangers on it. Yeah, man, it's a banger fucking album. We're gonna put This Is Your Sign Part 1 in perfect, man. It might just be I'm blinded by nostalgia, but I love that album.
Tell my mother, tell my father.
Next up, we got This Is Your Sign Part 2. This album holds the same sound as This Is Your Sign Part 1. That's why it's a Part 2. You know, this isn't a whole new album. It's basically just an extended edition of the first This Is Your Sign Part 1. I think this album has some really good songs on it, but this album kind of started blending into that Scarecrow sound, which is the album afterwards. This Part 2 of This Is Your Sign was a little less cohesive for me. It didn't have as many bangers as I liked. Unsaid is a little bit forgettable. Numb to Everything's good, but not anything insane. Pretend My Pain Away is good. Screaming in Silence is really good. Irreplaceable is a little forgettable. Worst in Me collab with Loveless was cool, but not a great song in my opinion. Still Breathing is amazing. Wanted is forgettable. You Are Not Your Past is... I'm not a fan of that song, really. Waiting on the Sun is really beautiful. Who I Am is really good. And This Is Your Sign, the title track, is one of their most emotional songs. So that's a really good album closer and a good way to end the This Is Your Sign chapter. I think it's a good album. I just don't think it's as good as Part 1. So with that being said, let's put This Is Your Sign Part 2 in great, behind Down the Rabbit Hole. I just wanted to give a little disclaimer, guys. These opinions I'm giving right now could literally change any day. A lot of you guys go and watch my older videos. Like, you'll see my older videos to, like, reactions to Scarecrow, and you guys are like,
whoa, dude, you loved Scarecrow back then. Why do you not like it as much now?
Because shit changes, my guy. Stuff changes. Your opinions change. Right now, Scarecrow is probably my least favorite Citizen Soldier album. But that might change tomorrow. So with that being said, let's talk about Scarecrow.
Woke up again in the pouring rain. I feel the windows shake, thunder in my brain.
I think Scarecrow is probably Citizen Soldier's biggest album numbers-wise. They grew a lot of popularity during this record. I'm gonna say it again. This album is just a collection of songs to me. I don't view this as an album, because it's not cohesive enough for me. It's way too random. Like, looking at the track list, we got Monster Made of Memories, which is one of my favorite CS songs. Don't get me wrong, guys. These songs, most of them, like basically all of them, are really good songs. It's just as an album, I don't rock with it, really. Fever, very heavy. Anyone But Me, very relatable. Love that song. This Is Not a Phase, most definitely my least favorite Citizen Soldier song. Run Away From Myself, not a very good song. Golden Weather's really good. Let Me Let Go is really good. Easy's Never Been This Hard, I'm not really a fan of. Words That Don't Exist is great. Deathbed, it's interesting, it's different, I like it. Still Frame, fucking Vietnam flashbacks. Still Frame is good. I Hate Myself is good. Suicide Note is good. Madhouse is good. Limit, good. Tattoos, great. Save Your Story, great. Scarecrow is alright. So like all these songs are good, except for like 2 or 3 of them I'm not a fan of. But it's an 18 song album, which is a lot of goddamn songs. But I think like most, not like 80%, 90% of the album is great. But it's the songs that are great, not the album, you know? I feel like this album lacks cohesion. You have a lot of just random genres and just different things in this album, which is nice to be different, but I think they could have done a better job of doing different while remaining cohesive. Don't get me wrong, the great songs on this album are great. So honestly, man, looking at this album, I can't say Scarecrow was just good. I am going to put it in the great category, but in the back, behind Down the Rabbit Hole and This Is Your Sign. Like, some of the songs of Scarecrow are just so undeniably great that I can't put it in good. It's not my least favorite album. I think it is better than Relentless. I just have some problems with it. I think Relentless is just kind of boring. It's a good album, but I think Scarecrow has so much better production, better songwriting. It's just some of the songs just aren't my thing.
Played out the scene, so much in my head. I have to wake up, but I'd rather be dead.
So, I'm gonna give a little bit of hot take here. I think ICU is Sid and the Soldier's best album.
What? What the fuck?
And where I stand at this very moment, ICU is my favorite Sid and Soldier album. I think this album is one of their most, if not the most, cohesive. I think it keeps such a nice theme and sound to it in the production. There's a couple songs that kind of break the cohesion, but I don't think they do it as much as Scarecrow did. Afterlife is an awesome album opener. Comparison, I had a little bit of a roller coaster with that song when I reacted to it, if you guys remember that video. I was not a big fan of the lyrics, but I ended up kind of coming around to it. Broken Like Me is good. Alone with Myself is good. My Own Miracle's great. Reason to Live is great. Therapy's good. Wired for Worthless is incredible. Without You is really good. Talk Me Down's pretty good. Black Hole Brain, really good. Give Up to Ghosts is really good. Made by Misery, really good. Good Enough for God's good. Strong for Somebody Else, good. ICU, good. You Were Not Enough, good. I don't know. Maybe it's not my favorite album. I think I still like This Is Your Sign Part 1 the most. Yeah. I think something that makes ICU so much more memorable to me was how much I disliked Scarecrow after it came out. Obviously, now that it's been like 2 years since Scarecrow came out, I enjoy it more and I don't have such a strong opinion towards it. Especially back then, once ICU came out after Scarecrow, I really enjoyed the songs on ICU because it was just refreshing to me. So yeah, we're going to put ICU in perfect behind This Is Your Sign Part 1.
Every day die a little bit more. I don't know what I'm living for. Fly with open eyes. In my dead end life, my dead end life.
And last but not least, we got Icarus, their latest album. If you guys want to see my full album reaction to Icarus, that is on my channel. I'll have it linked at the end of this video in my Sid and Soldier playlist. Icarus, by far, is my favorite album art. I am in love with that album art. I think it's so fucking cool looking. This album was really good. It really surprised me. I enjoyed having a shorter album. It was very refreshing to me. Looking at our tier list right now, I'm going to say I like Icarus more than Relentless, but less than Scarecrow, oddly enough. That's the thing with Scarecrow, man. I have such a weird opinion about it. Because, like, some of the songs of Scarecrow are so good, but it's just some of them are so not, you know? I think I'm going to put Icarus in great behind Scarecrow. So taking a look at this tier list, let's go over it real quick. In the good category, we got Relentless and Caroline. I think that's very fair. In great, we got Icarus, then Scarecrow, then This Is Your Sign Part 2, then Down the Rabbit Hole. I don't know if I feel good with that. Honestly, I think I'm going to move This Is Your Sign Part 2. I think I'm going to put it behind Scarecrow. Honestly, where I am right now, I like Scarecrow more than This Is Your Sign Part 2. So in great, we got Down the Rabbit Hole, Scarecrow, This Is Your Sign Part 2, and Icarus. I know with Icarus just recently coming out, a lot of you guys are very hyped about the album and might not be happy that I put it so low, but that's where I stand on it. In perfect, we got This Is Your Sign Part 1 and ICU. I think this is fair. Like I said, this could change anytime. Like a month ago, if I made this video, this tier list would be different. If I would have made this video in a month from now, this tier list would be different. This is just where I stand right now. Shit happens, shit changes. That's the beautiful thing about talking about music, man. Your mind can be changed all the time. So yeah, guys, this was my Citizen Soldier discography ranking. Let me know down in the comments down below, guys, what you guys thought about my tier list, where you would rank these albums. If you guys want to, I'm going to leave a link in the description to this tier list. I did make this tier list, so I have a link to it. You guys can go do it yourself. Send me a picture on Instagram or in our Discord server of your Citizen Soldier discography tier list, and we can talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this is your first time seeing one of my Citizen Soldier videos, feel free to check out my others. Like I said in the intro, I've reacted to all of their songs and some of their albums, so definitely go check out my CS reaction playlist and see our whole Citizen Soldier journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the future.